But wouldn't having a second SP be projecting out that I don't want original SP? No, that's not how it works. I wanted to talk today about the benefits of entertaining a second SP when you're manifesting an original SP or SP1 romantic interest, your main romantic interest, right? Because I know that the idea of it freaks a lot of people out. They're thinking, oh, but if I'm seeing someone else, they're going to think I'm not available. Or they'll do it from a place of trying to make original SP jealous, which backfires, right? I've actually done that in the past before I understood conscious manifestation, but I had done that in the past where I was seeing someone and I was posting things on Facebook, which I haven't been on for like a decade, longer, over a decade, to give you an idea of how long ago it was that I was doing shit like that. But I did do it. So I'm not giving you shit about it because I've been there. Okay. But I was posting things all over Facebook on about this like whirlwind trip I went on with this Irish guy that I met here in Australia, who was a rebound, which didn't ultimately make me feel better. Just FYI, for those who, for some people it might. But I was posting things all over Facebook to be like, see, to make the person that I was actually my first love, to make them jealous. And what it actually did was push him into the arms of someone who he wasn't even interested in before me. It wasn't just him telling me this, it was his friends. Like, I didn't even ask, but they would be like, Cerise, like, he really likes you. Like, he doesn't do this, or this with girls unless he really likes them. I've known him for a long time. That's why he never did that with blah, blah, blah person who he subsequently ended up marrying and having kids with. Big backfire. That kind of pushed him towards her when I was doing the Facebook thing. So we're not going at it from that, right? Your intent, your motivation behind everything that you do is really what matters, and how you're thinking, what you believe about the whole thing. So entertaining a second romantic interest, SP, specific person, whatever you want to call them, is not only totally fine, but has a lot of benefits. And that's what I wanted to cover in this video. Before I continue with the video, hey legends, I'm Cerise. I'm your self-agency and manifestation mentor, and I help you decipher the nuances of manifestation from the law of assumption and law of attraction to help you manifest smarter, not harder, because a lot of the information out there is either overcomplicated or oversimplified, and I learned a lot of things the hard way so that you don't have to. If you get anything positive out of this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and or subscribe. It helps push my videos out to more people. And if you'd like to comment below to help me with the algorithm, but you don't know what to comment, just put a sparkle emoji, because we're creating literal, real world fucking magic on this channel. So I haven't written any notes for this video. I'm just going to go off what I kind of say in, my live streams that I do on TikTok, although like that time will mostly be set aside now for the Q&As in the Cheat Code Academy. So when you're entertaining a second SP, again, from the right motivation, which is really to be giving yourself what you want to be experiencing now so you can fill your own cup with that, which is what overflows and projects out into your physical world. So you can do that by experiencing love from friends and family, right? Like I've explained that in other videos. You can also do that with romantic love, or just entertaining someone who treats you the way that you would like to be treated in your happy, healthy, long-term committed relationship that you're manifesting with your specific person, your love interest. There is a client success story that I shared from not even a one-to-one client, just someone who follows my social media, which I will put on the end card for you to watch after this video, of someone who did that. They entertained a second SP, and I'll direct you there to sort of get the gist of the whole success story and how that worked for her. But what it is doing is, right, because it's what you're aware of that you continue to experience, you are then putting your awareness on the attributes and behaviors and treatment, etc., that you want to be experiencing from your main specific person, love interest. And therefore, that is what starts to grow. You're feeding those attributes and behaviors and treatment, etc., in general, and that starts to grow and amplify out onto other people in your world as well. And things with manifestation, or in this realm, this simulation, however you want to think of the experience that we're having here on Earth, the human experience, things happen via the path of least resistance. And when you're solely focusing on trying to change those things in your specific person and focusing on them, Firstly, it's usually coming from that lack-based place, which means that you're looking through the lens of lack. You're going to notice more things that upset you more than make you feel happier about the situation going the way you want. But you're also putting yourself in a situation where you're presented a lot more with the old bits of the old story showing up that you then feel like you have to constantly have to counteract with your thoughts. And I've spoken about in previous videos, such as the toxic side of law of assumption video that I will also put in the end card for you to watch after this one. I talk about how you don't have to fight every thought, but it does feel that way when you're constantly seeing things that you don't want to be seeing. You feel like you have to, that you're like fighting against your thoughts, fighting against the old belief system, trying to force things to happen and change and people to change in the physical world. And you don't have to do that. You literally just have to decide how it now is and go about life with that knowing, or just not even the knowing, but just I've decided it. I know who I am. I get to have these things. And so that is what is happening. And then go about your life. When you're constantly, again, putting yourself in a situation where the old story that's playing out in the physical world, and you have to remember what you're seeing right now is literally the past. What feels like this moment is literally the past, because our eyes don't even register, like our brains don't even register what our eyes are seeing until 100 milliseconds after the fact. So this moment, you seeing me in front of you, like the video playing, is actually 100 milliseconds behind what's actually happening. So when you base your belief systems and your thoughts on what you're experiencing in the physical world now, you are creating more of it. So when you're entertaining a second SP, you are removing that focus from the things that are making you feel like you need to do more work to change things, which you don't need to do, because manifestation is about flow, not about force. You can force things, but that will be exhausting because you'll need to continue to force them forever in order to keep them around, right? Person, situation, thing, whatever. So you're creating less circumstances for you to feel the need to counteract and force and change. You are putting your awareness and feeding your energy to the overall experiences that you want to be having with your specific person. And I think I've talked about the dome before. If you think about, like, there's like a little dome, that is what you're experiencing right now. And what you feed within that is favorable, the dome starts to grow and it starts to cover more and more space and engulf more and more people, right? So that happens whether it's your wants or your worries that you're focusing on. When you do that in terms of the things that you want to be experiencing, that dome grows and then eventually will include your specific person. What it's also doing is it's getting your physiology prepared for when SP comes in to feel safe, right? I always talk about preparing your physiology for your manifestation, because when you associate the anxiety, for example, and sadness and all those lackful feelings, lackful seems like the wrong word because lack and full are different things, but you understand what I'm saying. Those lackful feelings, when your manifestation comes in, whether it is an SP or otherwise, even though we're focusing on SPs in this video, you start to act from that lack again, that anxiety. You've associated that anxiety with your SP, even though you've been able to will them back into your experience. But even if they do show up in line with how you've been affirming or thinking, your actions will be in line with the opposite to that, because that's not been reprogrammed as well. So when you start to experience that, you can trust that people in general, whether it's the opposite sex or the same sex or just people in general or groups of people in terms of any kind of manifestation, again, bringing it back to SP though, because a lot of times it's a belief of like all women or all men or whatever. When you allow yourself to experience that relationships can be that way, where you're treated really well and people behave in a way that is favorable, and you have an example of something that can work, right? In a relationship sense, you are creating a trust within your physiology and in your belief systems that, oh, I can experience this sort of thing, this sort of treatment, and it can be lasting because you don't have any opposing thoughts about a new person, right? Or it could even be someone that you already know, but you haven't had the experiences that have sort of reinforced that dam of disbelief that has been getting in the way of things being able to last with the person that you ultimately want. So when you build that trust of like, oh, things can last, this is an example of it, and I'm choosing to put my focus and awareness on an example that lasts, then when your main SP comes in, that trust, therefore removing the self-sabotaging behaviors, is there so that you can allow it to continue in that positive direction, so that it can be that long lasting, happy, healthy, committed relationship. And I want to bring quantum physics into this a little bit just to help give you a bit of an understanding from like a science backed perspective, keeping in mind that science is really just a 3D way of us explaining something that already exists, right? It's not creating anything. It's a study and an attempt to explain something that has always existed. Okay. You may have heard of an experiment called the double slit experiment. And what that tells us in a very simplified way is that what we experience in matter, physical form, when we're not looking at it, when we're not observing it, it's just in waves of energy. It's not in physical particle form. And so when you're constantly looking at the version of someone that's showing up unfavorably, you are keeping them in that physical form. When you remove your focus from that and put it onto something more favorable, or just remove your focus from that in general, but made easier by when you're focusing on something that feels better to focus on, regardless of whether it's a second SP or not, but in this example, obviously that's what we're talking about here, you are allowing the physical form of SP in the unfavorable version of them to then become energy again and reconfigure into a particle form when you next observe them that is more in line with what you've been telling yourself they are, so that you can experience that version. When you're obsessively affirming whilst looking at them going, change, change, you are like this, you love me, I am chosen by you, blah, blah, blah. You are making it so much harder for the energy to reconfigure into a form in the physical world that is more favorable. And that could be happening with them in person. It could be happening with them, you looking at them on social media. It could be happening with you meeting up with people that you have in common with them, trying to, get bits of information out of them to like see if things are conforming yet. They are conforming, things are changing yet, which is projecting out that they're not. Okay. And this is why oftentimes a lot of people will choose to go, like to purposefully go into no contact, even though no contact is not real. No contact in the 3D, the physical world, does not mean no contact in general, because everything is always like energy is always communicating with each other. And that's all we all are. That's all everything in this world is just energy. Because when you're in no contact, which isn't just not texting, but it's also not seeing all the shit on like social media and everything, you are allowing yourself to reinforce the belief systems that are in line with what you want without anything counteracting that, without anything throwing you off that. So that when you finally do cross paths with SP, which can happen in so many ways, not just text messages, not just DMs, not just story views, which you don't fucking want. You don't want a story view. You want the happy, healthy, long-term committed relationship. Stop putting so much pressure on these other things, which aren't necessarily part of the most efficient route to your end goal, because there's so many ways that someone could cross paths with you again. You could bump into them in the street, right? You could see them on TV, maybe even unexpectedly, watching a show that makes you feel good. Could be the news. I don't know. I mean, to me, the news is not something I would watch to feel good personally, but just giving you ways that you haven't contemplated. Don't make these your middle. Don't try to micromanage the middle. But you could see them on TV unexpectedly doing something that feels good, or be at a concert and then they end up on stage and you didn't even know that they were at the same concert as you. And then that prompts you with inspired action to go, hey, I was at that concert. I fucking saw you on the screen. But be detached if you're going to do something like that from that leading to your end goal. Okay. There are so many ways that you could cross paths with them. And this is why I talk about doing the feel good things, because so often I hear from people, and I've experienced myself, that when you're doing the feel good things that are unrelated to your manifestation, or at least as far as your conscious awareness, so you're doing these things without trying to make your end goal happen, you can trust that it is part of the most efficient route to your end goal, because you weren't intending to try and force your end goal to happen. That is why it is one of my manifestation cheat codes. So just quickly, the no obligation to join waitlist for the Cheat Code Academy that is launching in February. It's a membership to help give you regular, consistent guidance. Is linked in the description below. Everything that the Cheat Code Academy will entail is on that waitlist. If you join the waitlist, you don't have to join the membership when it launches in February, but you will only get the 50% off code in case you are ready by that time to join if you're on the waitlist. And that code is not just for the first month, it is for every month you decide to remain a member. If you choose to, you can cancel at any time. I've packed a lot in there at an accessible price. It will be an AUD, keep that in mind. But an example of what I've packed in there that I haven't seen anyone else offering is that I'll be doing 4 Q&As a month. Most or all that I've seen usually only offer one. And for me, the purpose of a membership is to have that regular check-in, that regular guidance. So I felt better about providing a membership with more Q&As available. They're not live either, so there'll be pre-submitted questions, and then I will record the answers to those videos, and they will be kept in a library that you can reference whenever you need to remind yourself of the answer to your question. And having a second SP is a feel-good thing in and of itself, even though in a way it's related to your, like it's something that is related to your manifestation, even though you're entertaining someone else, because it's going to feel good to finally allow yourself to have that companionship now, to be able to do the like snuggling on the couch and things like that, you know, or other things, you know. And while you're experiencing all of those things, if you want to, as main SP pops into your mind, not forcefully, but as they naturally pop into your mind, and you're feeling good in those moments of snuggling and the other activities, whether they're those activities or, you know, just fun activities, you can tell yourself like, yes, I know I can have this with SP because I'm experiencing it now. This is what we do. It's a lot harder to convince yourself that you can experience those things with someone if you're not experiencing them at all. Okay. And again, as far as going like back to basics, you really just have to choose. But it's going to be more difficult to continue to choose that moment to moment by just deciding, by just doing the mindset piece, if you don't feel good, if you're not experiencing those things in some way, whether it's romantic or otherwise. Again, we're talking about the benefits of a second SP in this video, but you can give yourself, you know, a lot of these things, like I've mentioned in other videos, through spending time with friends and family and all that sort of thing. And I always like to bring it back to, you know, if your self-concept was that good as you say it is. A lot of you tell me like my self-concept's 100%. Why aren't they doing this? Why don't I have this thing? Why am I not experiencing this yet? You're not choosing to. And if your self-concept were that good, you would be choosing to feel good right now. And I don't mean the fleeting dopamine hit things. Like I'm not encouraging. And look, there may be some people who genuinely like hooking up with lots of different people, for example, right? But in terms of everyone that I've known in my life who's done those things, it's not coming from that place. It's coming from trying to fill a void. That is a fleeting dopamine hit that ultimately leads to them feeling worse about themselves after the fact. But if you're entertaining a second SP in the way that you would want main SP to show up, long-term, happy, healthy, committed relationship, or at least, you know, even just the getting to know phase and the building trust phase and all of those things, that is still beneficial. It doesn't have to necessarily be a long-term relationship. And the example that I'm going to put in the end card of the success story of my follower, not even my client, right? It was a few months. Again, I'm not going to go into the whole success story because I have a video on that and I'll direct you to that at the end of this video on the end card. But if your self-concept were really as on point as you tell me it is, as a lot of you think it is, then you would be allowing yourself to experience what you want with your specific person to some degree now, right? I talked about this. I'm going to go a little off the SP topic just to give you an example, but I talked about this with a client recently about how if you want to experience, let's say, a tangible thing, that the ultimate goal might be like quite expensive in your mind, right? There are things under that umbrella that are free or cheap that you can experience now that will contribute to giving your awareness to experiencing that main big thing. And you can do that in a relationship sense with a second SP. It doesn't have to be like, you know, you fully get married to them so that you can experience marriage with your main SP. But it's just about getting yourself, your physiology familiar with experiencing those things now. So you're filling your own cup with the things that you want to experience. So that's what overflows and projects out into your world. Again, like I said, the experiences with the person, the how nice it feels to have that companionship, building the trust and the safety that a relationship is safe for you to have. It is safe for you to let yourself experience love. Love remains if you want it to, if you choose that it does. And if you're not doing things like the nervous system regulation cheat code, you're going to not allow yourself to experience that when people are showing up wanting to give you all those things that you want to experience with main SP, because you're going to be like have that fear in your body, that anxiety in your body that tells you no, because if I do that, if I entertain someone else, then I'm saying to SP that I don't want them, and then they're not going to come in. That's a limiting belief. And as I touched on earlier as well, like if you are entertaining a second SP, do not be posting shit on social media to try and make main SP jealous. Just focus on enjoying yourself. And if you do happen to put anything on social media, make sure that it's just because you're allowing yourself to enjoy things and you want to share that part of your life. Make sure, check in with yourself, like, am I doing this because I'm hoping they'll see it? Am I doing this because I'm hoping it'll make them jealous? Am I doing this because I'm hoping it'll make them reach out to me? Am I doing this in any way for them to see it? Or am I posting this with a fear that if they see it, they're going to be put off? If so, don't post any of that shit. Don't share it. Just focus on enjoying the moment. In a lot of ways, I have another video on how social media can fuck up your manifestation. In a lot of ways, social media does, because it gives people an opportunity to do those fear-based things that push things away. It's coming from lack, the checking, the posting to make people jealous, and blah, 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 the thirst traps. None of those are working in your favor. I only think I can put 2 videos on my end card. I'll try to put all 3 that I've mentioned in this video there though, but I've got plenty of videos on these things. So this is why doing the nervous system regulation cheat code as well as the other cheat codes, because they, again, work together synergistically. They make each other stronger, are super important to make sure that you're coming at things from the right intent and the right motivation so that it doesn't backfire. And if you're doing that, if you're doing it because you know that you're allowed to and you're worthy and deserving of having those experiences now, regardless of whether or not it's with your main SP or just in general, and you allow yourself to experience those things, that is feeding more of those experiences with more people, including your SP.